Hi, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mateo Lewis, and a couple months ago I posted a lot of videos analyzing some of my favorite songs from the musical theater canon, and so I wanted to start getting back into doing that, especially because the last couple months have been a little bit crazy in terms of like moving into my new apartment and stuff. But now I'm here, I've got all my posters set up the way I like them, so I want to start doing these videos more regularly because they're a lot of fun for me. Like, this is what I like to do in my spare time, is just tear apart these brilliant works of art and see what makes them so brilliant. So I'm going to start that by doing an analysis of Marry Me a Little, a song from what I think is arguably the best musical ever written, Company. Stephen Sondheim wrote the music and lyrics, Hal Prince produced and directed. This is a masterpiece of theater. It's about a guy named Bobby who's 35, which when it was written in 1970, it was even stranger then for a 35-year-old to be single. And he's the only one of his group of friends who isn't married. And everyone asks him, like, Bobby, why don't you want to get married? And he's like, well, what do you get for it, you know? Like, I don't need to be married. I'm perfectly happy by myself. But then at the end of the show, he has this revelation that, like, someone says to him, I'll take care of you. And he says, but who will I take care of? And then he realizes what it means to actually share your life with someone. And then he sings the big song, Being Alive, Being Alive, Being Alive, and the show ends on this big chord, or whatever. And so he finally understands it. So Marry Me a Little, this song, was written originally to be in that slot, to finish the show with Bobby's revelation that he is ready and he wants to get married. But when Sondheim wrote it, he realized that it was a little bit too, Sondheim uses the word in an interview, self-knowing. It's a little bit too cynical. He doesn't really understand what it means to actually share your life with someone and to be in a healthy relationship. He just has this idea of, like, having someone always there to, like, dote on him, and, like, but only at an arm's length, and, like, you know, with a lot of distance and safety. And it's not, marriage isn't safe, and love isn't safe. And that's what Bobby doesn't realize. And so he thinks he's ready to get married because everyone keeps telling him, get married to someone, anyone. And he doesn't yet. He hasn't yet. Because he doesn't yet have the capacity to care for somebody else and to give himself to another person. So that's kind of what this song illustrates, because it was cut originally, replaced with Being Alive, and then in the revivals, they put it back in at the end of Act 1 to show that he thinks he's ready, but he's not yet, which then, when he's finally actually gets it, actually understands the concept at the end and sings Being Alive, then that's a bigger shift, I guess. So this song comes right after his friend Amy is getting married, and she's having doubts, and he says, well, why don't you marry me, Amy? Like, marry me, and the rest of the world will just leave us alone. And then Amy says, Bobby, you can't just marry somebody. You've got to marry, you've got to marry somebody. You can't just marry somebody, you know? So that emphasis, like marrying some random person just for the sake of getting married versus marrying a person. That, brilliant script writing. I think it was George Firth wrote the book, wrote the script to the show. Oh my god, brilliant. And then that line comes back at the end during Being Alive, and that is what spawns Robert's key change. And the lyrics in Being Alive, they start off with, like, what do you get? Someone to hold you too close, someone to hurt you too deep. But then he hears Amy, he has a flashback to when Amy said that line to him. And then the key changes from D major to E flat major, and we go up a semitone, and then all of a sudden the lyrics change to, somebody hold me too close, somebody hurt me too deep. He's like, no, I get it now. I want this. I'm terrified of it. I don't know what it looks like. I've never been there, but I want it. You know, I just want to be loved. And I think this, that motif that Sondheim wrote in Being Alive, I think that is the sound of wanting to be loved on such a cosmic level. It's so, God, I love this show. Okay, so Marry Me a Little comes at the end of Act 1. He's just asked Amy to marry him randomly. And Amy's like, no. And the fact that he asked her to marry him is what prompts Amy to actually be like, no, I really do want to marry Paul, and go, and that quenches her doubts, because she understands, I guess, seeing Bobby, she understands that, no, me and Paul have a real connection. This is important to me. So she leaves, she goes off to get married, and Bobby sings it, and this music comes in. So right off the bat, we're very like turbulent. It's major. It's a very simple like B major to E major, like 1 4 1. That's what the chords are based on. But the rhythm is like very syncopated, and there's so many weird added notes that make it feel like incomplete and unsure and unstable. Marry me a little, love me just enough, cry but not too often, play but not too rough, keep a tender distance, so we'll both be free, that's the way it ought to be. I'm ready, so he says I'm ready, I'm ready, but in the music you get these are both, the right hand is doing, like that's a pretty consonant, happy, secure melody, and then the left hand is doing the, and that's also pretty solid except for the raising of the B to the B sharp. There you get that B sharp. But together, they don't fit together at all. I'm ready. And then it goes back into marry me a little, do it with a will, make a few demands I'm able to fulfill, want me more than others, not exclusively, that's the way it ought to be. I'm ready now. So there, that cadence from the melody goes, I'm ready now. So what you want to hear is, I'm ready now. The end. Final. He's ready. Yay! We don't have to come back for Act 2. But what you get is this really weird, I'm ready now. So we actually fall past the do. Fa, mi, re, do. We fall past the do to the T, and then that T acts as a pivot point, and we actually end up in that key of B flat major. So we're a semitone lower in key than we were before, and then we go into this completely new section whereas the chords in the first part were so turbulent and unstable and unsure. Now we're in B flat major, and we have this extremely simple consonant chord structure with the same syncopated rhythm, but it's like, so we just have really B flat with a suspended fourth, and then B flat. And then it goes, you can be my best friend, I can be your right arm, we'll go through a fight or two, no harm, we'll look not too deep, we'll go not too far, we won't have to give up a thing, we'll say who we are. Right. So we get to this B section, and it starts very consonant and stable. It gets a little bit more unstable as it goes on. So we have the B chord over the C sharp, but it's still a pretty simple chord based, and it resolves nicely to the C sharp chord there. So it's still a lot more stable and a lot more consonant than this turbulent, weird intro music, even though it has the same rhythmic structure. And this B section, this like bridge section, is the lyrics change. So while in the first parts, he's saying, marry me a little, love me just enough, like cry, but not too often. You know, he's like, I want this, but I don't want it that badly, and I don't want too much of it, because I would get overwhelmed with too much of it, you know? But then now, he's saying things like, things that he actually does want. You can be my best friend. I can be your right arm. We'll go through a fight or two. And then we have that augmented chord, a fight or two, no harm, no harm. So we have this moment where he's a little bit scared again, a fight or two, and then it gets resolved again. And then we'll look not too deep, we'll go not too far. We won't have to give up a thing, we'll stay who we are. Right, so there, it's this whole bridge section has been so much more consonant than the first section, than the verses and the chorus of I'm ready, because even when he's talking about the things that he doesn't want to do, he's satiating his own fears, because he's scared that he's going to go too far. He's scared that he's going to give himself up, or change who he is in a relationship. So he feels good, and he wants to know that he can be in a relationship where he doesn't have to change himself and he doesn't have to give anything up. So this verse, kind of this bridge section, he's talking about the things that he wants to do, and the parts of marriage that he actually does genuinely want. And then right, this section ends with right, like, isn't this how it should be? Am I right? Am I wrong? And then it goes back into, okay then, I'm ready. Here comes the high note. I'm ready now. Someone marry me a little. And then we're right back where we started. Marry me a little, love me just enough, warm and sweet and easy, just the simple stuff. So now we're back where we started. He's singing about marry me a little, but he's singing more about the parts that he does want than the parts he doesn't want. Instead of saying cry but not too often, he's saying warm and sweet and easy, just the simple stuff. I want the simple stuff, is what he's saying now, instead of I don't want the complex, messy stuff, which is what he was saying before. So that's kind of where we've come from the first half of the song. He's focusing on the positives of marriage. Keep a tender distance, so we'll both be free. That's the way it ought to be. I'm ready, marry me a little, body, heart, and soul, passionate as hell, but always in control. Want me first and foremost, keep me company. So that is the last line, the last piece of new lyrical information that we get in that A section, in the verse section. Because then we get, that's the way it ought to be, boom, I'm ready now, and we go back into the bridge, into the B section. So all of those lyrics are we've already heard them. The last piece of new information that we ever get from a verse or an A section in this song is keep me company. That's the name of the show! Because, so here's how this word keeps coming back, this word of company. At the beginning of the show, oh shoot, I should have looked up what the chords were for company, life is company, love is company. I have no idea what the chords are, but the opening number ends with the words company, life is company, love is company. And then company, and it ends on this big chord. And that's how the show opens, is with that number saying company, life is company, love is company. Life and love are all about keeping each other company and sharing with other people. That's what the opening number, and it also is the finale of the show that repeats that company, life is company. Oh man, I wish I knew what those chords were, because they're great chords. I have no idea what they are though. But that opens the show and it closes the show. That idea of company, life is company, love is company. And then at the end, when he sings being alive, it's about but alone is alone, the final chorus of Being Alive, where he says, somebody crowd me with love, somebody force me to care, somebody let me come through, I'll always be there, as frightened as you, to help us survive. Being alive, being alive, being alive. So those words all come from the idea alone is alone, not alive. And then in the opening number we get life is company, and then here we say, want me first and foremost, keep me company. That's the end of the verses. The verses where he's talked about why he doesn't want to get married, as opposed to the bridges where he talks about why he does, that's the last part of the verse. That takes us into the final bridge, which takes us into the ending of the song of Marry Me a Little, and this big high note where he says, I'm ready, but it ends on the same turbulent chords because he doesn't really understand it yet. But we'll get there. So first and foremost, keep me company. That's the way it ought to be. Shoot. That's it. I'm ready. I'm ready now. Here we go into the bridge again. Oh, how softly we'll talk. Oh, how gently we'll tread. All the stings, the ugly things will... There, he's scared again. All the stings, the ugly things will keep unsaid. So on that augmented chord, that's the only kind of weird chord in the entire bridge section, because we have, what do we have? We have D flat over E flat, and then we have A augmented over E flat. That crunchy. And both times we come across the bridge, we get, we'll go through a fight or two, no harm, and then we get, all the stings, the ugly things will keep unsaid. So both times we hear that chord in the bridge, that's him saying, there's fear in love, and there is anger and like hatred in love, and you get into fights and when you're close with somebody, and he's scared of that, you know? So he's saying in this perfect relationship that he's envisioning and that he's ready to have, in this relationship he's ready to have, there won't be fights, there won't be ugly things, we just won't talk about it. Unfortunately, that's not how relationships work, and that's why he's not ready yet. And that's why he knows on some level that he's not ready yet, which is why he keeps saying, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, because he's trying to convince himself, he's trying to convince the audience, he's trying to convince the people around him, he's trying to convince everybody, no, I'm ready, I know I'm ready. But he's not, and he knows it, or he wouldn't be working so hard to convince everybody that he was. Does that make sense? We'll keep unsaid. We'll build a cocoon of love and respect. You promise whatever you like, I'll never collect. Right! That's the first time he ever mentions any need of anything about what he will do for the other person, you know what I mean? Like, or rather, that the other person doesn't need to do something for him. That's the first time his selfish kind of worldview cracks open a little sliver. That's the first time. And then we go right into, right! Okay then, I'm ready. I'm ready now. Someone. Why is he saying someone? Don't you want to marry a specific person? He's just yelling out into the oblivion, anybody marry me, because he just wants to be able to say that he's married, but he doesn't understand what it means to actually be in love with a specific person. So that's why we want to come back for Act 2. We watch this song and we're like, oh man, this guy has no clue what he's talking about. We want to come back and see if he can figure it out, you know? And then we end with, someone, I'm ready. So we've just had this big 5-minute song, but we end the exact same place we started. Ooh. And that's Marry Me a Little. There is so much to deconstruct in that song, and my thoughts are so scattered because I just get so excited about the brilliance of Stephen Sondheim and about the brilliance of this show. And I'm a very romantic person, so I love this. I love this whole like show about marriage idea. Like it just gives me goosebumps. So if I skipped over a detail that you think is really dope about this song, because there are lots of details in this song. It is so brilliantly crafted. Every single note means something. So if I've skipped over a detail, or if you have a different interpretation of one of these details, please, please, please comment, because I love having these discussions about what makes these kinds of stories and these kinds of songs resonate with us. I'm hoping to do these kind of videos a lot more often. I want to have my friend Danny Dixon come in and sing Shallow from A Star Is Born. I want to do that next week. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me in the near future. So don't forget to subscribe, click that like button. I don't know what YouTubers say. Bye!